Hi, it's Jessica Hartman from ETEC 527 Web 2.0 Tools, and I'm going to present my final project. So this project has evolved over the weeks from a discussion exercise for third graders to a HyperDoc inquiry lesson that is intended for middle school seventh graders. And we'll get started with the HyperDoc. And so all of the activities for the lesson are included on one page, and this is what I would paste into Google Classroom for the kids to get started. So everything's saved in a drive that is shared with the kids so they can participate. So we're having a new assignment. Post it, and then they get started. Once they view the file, it has to fully load for the links to be functional. Okay, they start with a poll. Probably each one of these activities would take place on a different class period, 45-minute class period. So they would fill out their poll for social media use and attitudes. These questions were also generated with AI, so we could also walk through the process of making the poll and determining the questions for the class period. And then whenever they have completed the poll, they can see the results of the poll in the research sources folder that is shared with all of them. So they would see all of their classmates' responses, and they could use this information in the rest of the project. So moving on from the poll, then they would begin their research, and their research is taking place in the Kealo EDU website. So their instructions are to explore the topic of social media from different perspectives, and so there's 3 different discussions, and they make a claim either for or against social media from those 3 perspectives, and then they have to back up their claim with one source of evidence. And so they're also instructed not to duplicate claims or sources. There's AI within this program embedded that tells them if they're going to make a duplicate response. So once they have that done, they would be able to view each other's responses, view each other's sources, and then there's also instructions for them to use Google Gemini to make whatever source they found into a 7th grade reading level. Then they copy and paste the results into different folders that they also have access to. And then they use that research in the next step of the project, which is collaboration. So there would be 6 groups. So, for example, like students who are for social media, students against social media, also parents for and against, and schools for and against. So they get into their groups of 4 and they create a presentation using either Canva, Google Slides, or Prezi, and they have to make sure that they include the most effective claim from the research as identified by the class, which is another feature of this discussion. You rate. So for the thesis, you rate the veracity. For a claim, let's say it's good. People can say, oh, this claims impact, let's say maybe it's a 0. You're not really saying anything that it's good. And you also are able to make comments if you're, a classmate, and also you can see the stats on who voted, how many votes there were. Right now, all of the settings are for anonymous, but if you wanted the students to know, who's making the claims and posts, you could just change that setting. All right, and so once they have collaborated to make their presentation using the most effective claim and all their resources, they're going to post the presentations to the class stream, which is something that they all have access to. They can all individually comment, and then they can view each other's presentations. So when they're viewing each other's presentations, there's a form to fill out for feedback where they provide the group number, they give their personal information, they rate the claims, the sources, the presentation itself. This one, the feedback would be reviewed by the teacher before being disseminated to the students. And then the last step of the project would be that they vote. Once they've seen each other's presentations and all of the information, they've participated in that and discussions, they decide based on what they've seen, is social media good or bad from a student, parent, and school perspective. All right, thanks for viewing my presentation. The last thing would be the evaluations. Those are linked on the Read Me First introduction to the project. All right, thank you.